fire apparatus, ladder 2. Ms. Ezovski, is this the same as item L, or is this a different issue?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's the same issue, right?
It's the same issue. Yeah, we only have one ladder truck that we can sell. I wish we had more, but sorry.
We may have one less.
I'd like to refer to the chief for the details on this, if you don't mind.
Okay. Why don't we address it under item L, discussion by council order of action and offer for purchase of North Smithfield 1996 Smeal ladder truck and a waiver of tuition for recruits in Municipal Fire Training Academy. That encompasses everything in the authorization for signature. Chief?
Back in April of 18, Chief Gilson came before the council at the time and requested that the town's ladder truck be put up for sale. It was a maintenance issue. It was costing the town a lot of money. We just don't have the staffing to put people on it. Quite frankly, it's an impractical truck for us any longer with the mutual aid agreements that we currently have with Smithfield and North Providence and Lincoln. We're able to call in mutual aid ladder trucks if needed. So part of what was agreed to back then was that once we took delivery of the new fire truck, we could put the ladder truck up for sale. We did that. The deputy chief was instrumental in getting that going. He put it on a fire truck website where there's fire trucks for sale. We had no bites at all. Not a phone call, not an email, just no interest in it at all. During that time frame, I met on a couple of occasions with Director Mark Pear. He's the director of Rhode Island Fire Academy, and he began to express some interest in it. They had a donated ladder truck from the Middletown Fire Department when they first started down there. That truck was currently being put out of service, so he took an interest in that. Long story short, he got the approval to make the offer. He came to us and offered us $12,000 in cash for the truck. Let me back up a little bit. They sent an independent appraiser up, and the independent appraiser valued the vehicle at $18,750, excuse me. And so he came over and made us an official offer of $12,000 cash and waiver of any fees for 3 future firefighters for training down at the Fire Academy, which goes $3,200 per person, so it's a value of $9,600 for future training when we hire small firefighters. So, in discussion with the administrator, we thought that was a good deal, and we're just seeking your approval tonight so that we move forward with the Rhode Island Fire Academy.
Recommendation?
Absolutely. Regrettably, I mean, when you look at the original purchase price of a vehicle like this and what it brings in the way of resale, it's absolutely sickening. But as the chief has indicated, it's been available to the market through worldwide advertising, if you will. I've looked at for other reasons we'll talk about later, 4 trucks on that website and others for acquisition to replace our out-of-order rescue engine, and it's just as depressing to look at those. I mean, the used fire trucks just don't bring a lot of money. There's fit details in terms of you know ladder reach, pump capacity, water tank size, length of vehicle, height of vehicle, all these things that become altogether too specialized, and they just don't bring a lot of money in sales. So I do think that the department has done an appropriate amount of legwork and effort to try to optimize what we yield for it, and I do support this as a prudent action by the town.
Based on the administrator's recommendation, is there a motion to approve the sale of the 1996 Smeal ladder truck and waiver of tuition for recruits for the Municipal Fire Training Academy of $12,000?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion, given the information that was given to us. We had an independent appraisal of $18,000. Came in that the Municipal Fire Training Academy offered us $12,000. put an additional $9,600 in training. So the numbers actually work in our favor.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's a motion to approve it, Mr. President.
Motion by Mrs. Zelinski, seconded by Mrs. O'Hara. Any other discussion?
I do have a question. As far as these recruits, how long will they extend this opening to send?
In discussions with the director of the fire academy, he has agreed to draft up a letter. The reality is he's not going to be there forever either, but what he will do is draft up a letter and have the state fire marshal, the training academy falls under the direction of the state fire marshal's office. He will draft a letter and have everyone sign off so that we have that in documentation. It's actually in documentation here as well, so, but he has agreed to
So
that.
we're looking possibly 2 years. I mean, I don't know. Are we looking for recruits now or in 2 years, 3 years, and it would extend that far out?
Well, I'm hoping that he will. As far as when we're going to get new people, I'm hoping you'll let me do that soon. So,
I don't think you have a sunset clause.
that's correct.
So your motion is to authorize
Yes.
the administrator to sign it up.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote?
Mrs. Barnamoli?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Oshia?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Vadeney?
Yes. Next item, discussion by council vote or other action on sale of discussion by council vote or other action on purchase of Masonville Fire and Rescue Engine. We do have a bill of sale in our packet. In consideration of the town of North Smithfield from the Masonville Fire District for the purchase of a 2000 Cyclone model Cyclone 2 pumper with a down rating of $38,625 in the amount of $25,000.
Well, we got half of it.
Almost, yeah.
Mr. President, I will recommend and you can provide additional detail, but again, from this is a result of the failure of our 2001 engine. We're replacing that with 2000, but this one is in far better condition than our 2001. It will meet our needs. Obviously, it's not going to last forever, but it has the potential to give us a few years of service as a frontline truck, as well as in the longer term as a backup. So I encourage this as both a practical circumstance and a reasonable quality circumstance, but also keeping us in the circumstance of trying to create space between our purchases of these rescue engines. They're the most expensive vehicle that we have to buy. The ideal world is that we only have to buy one every 7 years. Our third-party billing fund would manage that quite well also with replacement of 2 rescues every 7 years, but we have to space them. And the purchase of this engine now gives us opportunity to continue to build up that fund to be ready to buy the next new rescue engine, while also having this one as future reserve.
You've heard the recommendation of the administrator. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion for further discussion.
Motion by Mrs. Zelinski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bamioli. Discussion. Mr. Zelinski.
Yes, President, you have to forgive me, I've been a little preoccupied with my son's wedding. It's been a very enjoyable long weekend starting Thursday evening. So this was something I didn't get to when I arrived back today, this afternoon. Funding for this will come out of the third party?
Yes.
Perfect, I'm good.
This is the truck that we've been renting, right, for
It's been on loan to us. The rental, perhaps you could call it that, because we have made some repairs.
When we took the truck on loan, it needed some work done to it. It needed tires. There was a few things. I think overall we put about $5,000 into it. That worked into the negotiation of the truck. They saw the value at one price. We saw it at another. We met in the middle, and we agreed that what we had put into the truck was that middle ground. So that's how we came to the agreement.
So it's loaned at no cost for that timeframe we've been using, it's been loaned at no cost.
Correct, it's been no
on
rental
our
fee.
maintenance and upgrades.
That's right.
Correct. It also comes in the sales agreement, they're also giving us 600 feet of 4-inch diameter hose, which at today's prices is $450 per 100-foot length, so that's a $2,700 value.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call vote?
Mrs. Bottomoli?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Oshia?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Vadeney?
Yes.
Mr. President, I want to take the time, the opportunity to thank the chief and the deputy for their work in the negotiation of this. As you know, the Osier Fire Department has had some difficulties, and this is one of their first decisions as it relates to those difficulties. So we also thank them for their considerations of the town of Westwood.
Yes, they've been very helpful in understanding throughout this whole process. It's been a real help to us.
All part of that mutual aid, man.
It is, yes.
Do we need action to authorize you to sign this as well?
Yes, please.
There a motion to authorize the administrator to sign? Yes, so moved. Motion by Mrs. Zelinski, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bottomoli. Roll call vote?
Mrs. Bottomoli?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Oshia?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Vadeney?
Yes. Next item, discussion by council vote or other action.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Next item, discussion by council vote or other action on statistical impact of residential and commercial properties due to the 2018 revaluation disclosure.
Yep, so I'm gonna just say something first. So I had asked, I reached out to Gary to ask if I could ask this assessor to pull some numbers after hearing from residents in town. There's been a large increase in the residential assessment values, and to see also what the commercial increases were. So I asked the assessor if it was possible to see what the percentage change would look like on the number of residential units and the number of commercial units from a no change up to greater than 76%. In 5% increments, and a decline downwards to negative 11%. And so, in just looking at this, it looks like the majority, almost 72% of the commercial properties saw no change to 5%, and
1 second, Mr. Oshia.
then around, it was like 50% for the residential, were around that 11 to 20% increase
Right.
overall.
Correct.
Second.
Well, it ties into what I've been saying, that the residential saw an average increase of 19%, and the commercial saw an average increase of 6%. This illustrates and shows you where the majority of parcel counts fall in. And the residential, there were around 1,100 parcels that fell in between the 15 and 20% range, which ties into the average increase being 19%. And then for the commercial, you can see they fell in between the 1 to 5%, and the commercial, the average increase was just under 6%. So that's why you see the total parcel count higher in that category.
Part of the reason for asking for this is, seeing other communities do it as well. They kind of have these little town halls where they talk about these revaluations. And I think it's important to know where the percentage is being felt and where the impact is being felt. Because I think it's important to keep in mind as we're talking about the budget process to know.
Right, and I think this is a good idea. It's something that I think going forward, I'll definitely have.
We've seen this for the first time. Can we go back to that last slide and have her explain what it was? Because I'm just trying to read the stuff. So. On the residential.
The other one was commercial. Okay, so this is the residential.
Yeah.
If you look at the chart on the left-hand side, it's telling you how many total parcels increased within that range. Okay. And it's going from, it's going from 75% increase down to a negative increase. And you can see the majority of the increases fell between the 16 and 20%.
Okay.
And if you look at the pie, you can see it's 24% of the total residential increased by between 16 and 20%.
39% between the two.
Right.
I can do that.
Okay, and then if you switch to commercial, I did the same thing for the commercial. If you look at the commercial, the majority of properties increased between 1 and 5%, 222 total parcels. It's about 50% increase, fell between that range. Right.
So is there something that shows us how this translates into the taxes, the tax increase that people don't realize? A typical, or just,
Well, the rates haven't been set yet.
well, based
so
on the projected rate?
I mean, based on the projected rates, we could do this. I don't have it available tonight.
This is just showing deviation.
This is just the assessment.
So,
Right.
so.
And that's all I was asked for. I mean, we could do it.
It's not tied to the tax rate, because we haven't set any tax rates
Right.
yet. We haven't set a budget yet.
So it just seems from this data, commercial was a lot more defined.
Right.
For the most part, 70% of, 72% fall within, no change to 5%, so,
52%.
yeah. And then 20% is for what, 0% change?
Right.
Yeah, so
Around no change.
it seems like residential, there was a bigger spread.
Right.
Of people that are going to get tax cuts versus people that are going to get really large bills. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
That's more just for information.
Yeah, it's just more for informational purposes so that.
Okay. I mean, if anybody, if you think we want, when we set a rate next week, if you want me to have it for taxes, I can maybe break it down close rates. If that's helpful.
You mean for next week?
For next week.
Yeah, be helpful. I think anything would be helpful.
Okay.
So Sarah, we're free to contact you directly. If all of a sudden I get an epiphany tonight and I wake up at 2 in the morning, can I send you an email?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, all due respect, it's my preference, and we discussed this in December, that we go through the administration, to the administration. Just as it.
Gary, have I ever
so we have-
excluded you?
We have order, we have.
Gary's
order.
always a
I'm
cop.
just saying, though, just so we have orders that we're going, I am following the regulations.
So we get hard copies of that without waiting 10 days for the ERA request? Just go in tomorrow and get a hard copy of that?
This,
Yeah.
we can send that to you.
You can email it to you if you want.
Thank you.
You can have your email.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
Just a quick comment.
Come up to the microphone so we can hear you, please.
Mike Rapko. What you're seeing is roughly half the properties on the commercial are going up 1 to 5%. And when you look at the residential side, if you add up the 3 big blocks, half of them are going up between 16 and 30%. So that gives you an idea that there's a big offset, that the residential is picking up a very large portion. And as I said before, it's $1.7 million because of this. So that's, you can see from the charts, it's really out of line. It's unfortunate, but that's the way, I guess, the assessment came in, that the bulk of it is all residential.
Well, and Mike, I'm sure sorry, I know you said no change to 5%, 72% of change. So no change, excuse me, there's 72% of the commercial have no change up to 5%. So if you
From 0 to 5%, 72%.
yes, for no change, you have 72%.
Yeah, I was just looking at 50%, where is the 50% portion of residential and commercial? And it's 1 to 5% on the commercial, and it's 16 to 30% on the residential side. If you look up half, I'm just looking at the midpoint of residential and commercial, and you can see the big difference between the two. that probably explains the 1.7 million.
Michael Davis. So I just wanted to build off of that and say that the proposed rates drops were both 5.2% for commercial and residential. So we see that businesses have no change to 5% for the majority, where houses are going to go up 20%, 19%. So dropping the rate 5.2% on the residential side is a lot more of a tax increase than dropping the commercial. Dropping the commercial rate 5.2% is a big drop compared to what residents are going to get. So it doesn't make any sense to me that we're dropping the residential and commercial rate the same amount, percentage points. So, thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Thank you. Next item, discussion by council vote or other action on proposed change to Rhode Island General Law 44-5-20.20 North Smithfield property tax classification duties of the assessor, increasing the maximum amount allowed between commercial class 2 and tangible class 3 rates. Mr. Osier.
Yeah, so I had originally put this on the docket as a discussion point after I was approached by a few residents asking if we could do something about the spread between the tangible and the commercial rates. I think this is it's a great idea because we are maxed out on that tangible rate. However, in looking at it more, I asked the assessor for some more detailed information, and there may be ways that we can play with the rates that would almost freeze the commercial